It's how you deliver that versus what they've just asked for. That is key to how they're going to feel about you, how much they're going to believe in you, and do they like you? Because at the end of the day, people want to do business with people they like.
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Welcome back, everybody. This week, I have Kevin Scott from Muskoka Landscapers on, and we're going to dig deep into his business and figure out exactly what they're doing, what are their secrets in their sales side that's helping them become so successful in their market. So, Kevin, welcome to the show.
Hey, Josh, great to be back. Great to see you, and looking forward to catching up today.
Absolutely. And I loved our last episode. I know it was a couple of years ago, but you were talking about building landscapes on islands. And man, that was fascinating to me. It's one of our most listened to episodes, believe it or not.
Amazing.
People just find it's just really amazing stuff you're doing. So I can't wait to dig in here with you and figure out how you're doing it on the sales side. So how many years you've been at this or in business now, Kevin?
This upcoming season's 18. So big year
years
for us. We're getting close to the 20 mark, which is pretty cool. But yeah, 18.
That's amazing. And what's an average design build project size for you guys?
It varies, from $500,000 to 1.5. But I'd say,
Okay.
we do, 20 to 25 projects a year. And I would say most average out like in the 7 and change. Every year there's like one that's, 2. But then we get a lot too that are around the, 4 to 600 as well. So it kind of averages out around 7.
Got it. Okay, got it. And what would be your design build revenue for 24 to get a sense of the scale of your company?
Yeah, 24, we were just north of 10 million.
Okay.
It was a great year considering the market wasn't great. Fortunately, we're often booked up, almost a year in advance. So that was a big benefit last year and made for an amazing year.
I love that. That's so good, man. Congratulations. That's a big win.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it's good.
So a question, where are you guys located?
So we're in Muskoka, Port Carling area. I mean, Muskoka is kind of a broad region, but basically lake country. We're about an hour and a half north of Toronto. So yeah, it's really cottage focused work. All of our projects or 95% of our projects are lakefront, and mainly our second or third or fourth homes.
Wow, amazing! It's crazy to think people have that, right?
It is, and it's such a short.
Wild.
Like our prime season is really July and August. You get some great weather in the shoulder months too, but for the majority, July August is the season.
Got it. That's amazing. So if you were to go out to 10 new projects, say in the next month to look at, how many would you guys bring home? What's your closing rate looking at? That's what I'm pointing at.
Well, honestly, it used to be higher, but I would say we're in like the 65 to 70% range.
Okay.
I think we, as we all have, been price checked a lot more in the past couple of years. But yeah, most of our work's referral based, so it's kind of ours to lose. But yeah, we're just finding that people are a lot more price sensitive, and that's contributing to a little bit lower closing rate.
Got it. Okay. So why don't you walk us through step by step? If I was a client, what would your sales process feel like to me? And then we can walk through what you're actually doing in the backside. But what does it feel like to your client?
Yeah, sure. Well, normally it starts out with it's either a DM from Instagram or an email, or sometimes people call me direct if it's a referral from a previous customer. And from there, we want to find out as much as we can about their project. Hopefully they've got some design to send us or some site plan drawings that we can start reviewing and get a better sense of what they could do and what sort of space they have available. In Muskoka, we are a little bit restricted under permitting, for how many square feet we can have within 66 feet of the water and access and widths and, revegetation and that kind of thing. So what we really like to do is meet with the customer on their site, talk about what they'd like to do, try and listen as well as we can to really take great notes and see what their key points are. And from there, we really want to get them to some other sites. And I find that is our biggest selling tool, especially when we can take customers, because often I think no matter what market you're in, whether you're selling $50,000 backyards or $200,000 backyards with a pool and a cabana, or you're doing, high end sort of luxury real estate, people often underestimate what they think it's going to cost. So by taking them to 3 or 4 properties that are maybe similar to theirs, and being able to say, this project was $500,000, this one was $1 million because of this programming. These were some of the restraints we had. These were some of the difficult portions of the project, and why. So often it comes down to square footage, but I find by getting them to some other projects, we can streamline the design process so much, because now we've seen what color stone they like, what's the jointing they like, the lighting fixtures, are they after audio, what's their sort of planting palette, what's their primary focus for programming, how are they going to use it, what's their family like, all the things that you need to kind of encompass when you do a good design. We can get 90% of that by a couple of site visits. And then it also helps them understand where that number is likely going to come in based on what they're asking for. So there's not that sticker shock when they get an estimate for 600,000 or 700,000 or $1 million. They kind of understand from what they've seen where they're going to roughly be. So I think that's a big one for us.
And so, when in your process are you taking them boots on the ground to another site? Where does that land?
Second visit, usually. We really want to try and do that before we even talk design pricing, any sort of budgeting. I want to get them there, and then our next step is to sell them on the design process.
No, that's great. It's a good process. So you mentioned programming earlier a couple of times. What does that exactly mean for you guys?
Well, so when we get a new call, we send out a welcome package as quickly as we can. That welcome package talks a lot about our process, and then there's also a checklist on it for programming. So there's things like outdoor kitchens, volleyball, tennis courts, putting greens, pool, sauna, cold plunge, hammock area, whatever. Like there's probably 40 or 50 things on there, and often that is more to create some confidence with them that we're responding quickly. We've already shown them things that they probably haven't thought of, because often customers get this sort of I don't want to say tunnel vision, but they get this image of how they think the property is going to work because they've likely been thinking about it for many years. So giving them that programming option page, fire orifices, all the things that can go into a project, really gives us some great feedback. But I think immediately creates some confidence for that new customer as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, to have boots on the ground and be able to walk around and see what their investment could get them, it's a whole different level before you design. I like that a lot. It really helps them envision what their money can buy them. It's powerful, especially if you're doing
And you're not
like project by project.
totally, and you're not wasting time at the design phase either. You're not, because often you can over design. The budget is maybe unacceptable. And then you're kind of refining everything and readjusting everything again. So I think this just gives us both a really good opportunity for conversation, gives us an opportunity to educate them a little bit about what elevates costs, what are some ways to save. We talk random numbers about what a court's worth, what a pool's worth. So having all that conversation before the actually, we start in CAD doing a design, eliminates a lot of wasted time, I think, and
Absolutely.
just shrinks the whole window for them.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that a lot of your leads are referrals, which is always the best, right? That's always a nice warmest
Yes.
lead ready to go. Do you have a pre-qualification process in place is it that more the welcome packet, or how do you guys pre-qualify?
Well, to be honest, we don't do a lot of it, Josh. I'm working with a lot of guys that I'm coaching with, that I'm helping them build systems like that. We don't do a lot of it, mainly because I've been surprised so many times when we've gone to a project that sounds like it's going to be a small job and it ends up being 600,000 or 700,000. So because our project size is bigger than average, I feel like it's worth the time to go and see them and meet and have a conversation about what they're after. In the same breath, I think if you're somebody who's doing $30,000 to $50,000 projects, and there's always going to be multiple bids, there's a lot of questions you can ask through that process to make sure they're a right fit. They've got
Yep.
A reasonable budget in place, or they're at least leaning towards a reasonable budget. and what their schedule is often a big driver as well.
Yeah. Yep. And plus the fact that it sounds like a majority of your leads are, referrals. So they're already kind of shoe-ins, not shoe-ins, but you still got to work for them, of course. But at the same
Absolutely,
time,
yes.
there's already rapport built. They already know they want to work with you as long as things aren't crazy. And now it's just a
Right.
matter of guiding them to that. So that does make sense, and especially when you're dealing with 500, 100,000 to $1 million plus projects. It's a
Right.
different world than smaller for sure.
Yeah,
Got it.
definitely is, and the strategy is a little bit different. The customers are a bit different. Often they've been through the process before, which that's a very helpful part of it as well. If they've built other homes in other areas and gone through the landscape architect process, the bid process, the tender packages and all that good stuff. They understand it. They know what to expect, and what the deliverables are. So yeah, I'd say it's different throughout the industry what that process and funnel looks like. But for us, we really like to go to every call and just have some like exploration to verify, are they suitable or not suitable.
Got it. That makes sense. So how do you guys handle design? You had mentioned about where it fits within your process, but how do you guys handle that specifically?
Yeah, so we used to do up till 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago now, we did all of our design in house. I partnered up with a local architect who's also a good friend and brought my team and part of his team together, and we've started a new landscape architectural company called Vast, and that's gone really well for us. It's allowed the team to grow and create projects in other areas. We're doing a lot of work outside of the Muskoka area on a design side, but they still do all of our in-house design as well.
Hmm.
So we often bring them on the initial visit. We're all taking notes. They come to that client walkthrough when we visit the other properties. Uh, they prepare design. We have like a three-phase approach. Where the first phase is kind of like more creation and kind of idea setting, and then second phase we get more into build out as far as square footages and elevations and plant material and pallets and all that sort of stuff, furniture. And then from there, it becomes more like visualization. So we get into renders and that kind of thing. So not every customer needs all three phases, and that's kind of why we've separated it. Um, but some people really struggle to look at 2D plans, especially when they're looking to spend, north of $500,000. So the visualization portion of the package really helps not only sell jobs, but really create confidence for the customer that they know uh, roughly. There, I mean, the renderings now are pretty pretty incredible. Really, we get
Yeah.
lots
Yep.
of comments about they look like photos, or that is that when did you finish that project?
Yep.
Um, so I think that is just another great tool to help create confidence with a customer.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
specific.
Vast looks
Yeah.
after it all for us.
I love that. And they can keep their focus, right? Their focus is design and the presentation and all that stuff, not trying to do all of it. Now, are you guys more design build, design manage, or a hybrid?
We're design build.
Okay.
Even with Vast kind of being our sister company now, I'm 50% owner. It's really been a great transition, like you just mentioned. Like the team now at Muskoka Landscapers, like our project management team, they're really focused on what's on the drawing. We used to have a bit of a muddled conversation because we were designing and doing the work. We could make adjustments on the fly. If there was gray areas, we would just figure it out on site. Where now I just feel like our whole system is much more accurate.
Yep.
Um, and again, meetings are different.
Hmm.
The time frame for meetings is shorter. Uh, More focused energy from PM to site manager. So yeah, it's probably one of the best things I've done from a business perspective in quite a few years. And again, it's been good not only for my side, but also for the Vast team, the designers themselves. They're really enjoying working in other areas and using different products and, um, you know, backyards. Like up in Muskoka, we're often dealing with acres of land, not, a 100 by 50 lot. Um, so they've been enjoying that too. Like the confinement is kind of fun from a design perspective as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how do you charge for your design? How does that work for you guys?
So each phase is a certain dollar amount. Um, we, depending on who's working on it, if it's architect or a designer or one of our interns, the rates are all different. But basically, we take an average rate because there's certain things that everybody does within that scope. But our designs range from 10 to 15,000, depending on the project and how much the customer requires. We've had projects where it's been over 20,000, but that's because they're really heavy into the renders from multiple angles, and renders are just very time consuming to do them well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So I'd love to switch gears and get a sense of what you guys are really, really good at when it comes to your sales side.
Yeah, I think, well, we talked about getting them to site. I think some of the things that we do that a few of them we've just started implementing, but one thing that we do now, and I know that we've lost projects because of this in the past, and you can, I'm sure, understand this as well. If I'm a customer who's ready to spend $1 million on a landscape project, and there's three estimates, and I think this relates to, again, whether you're doing a $15,000 maintenance job, $50,000 backyard, $200,000 backyard. If you're the highest number in those three, often you get pushed out right off the get-go, and often the customer's not doing a really good comparison of what's included in each of these estimates. So what we do now is we like to set up a Zoom call before we send the estimate.
Okay.
So we'll send it right before the Zoom call, and then we'll walk the customer through it and explain to them what is in each item, what's included, why it's priced that way. If we feel like it's elevated because of an access issue or a bedrock issue or something like that, we'll walk them through that. We always carry contingency numbers because often, even on the best designs, your planting may still be gray, your lighting and irrigation requirements may still be a little gray on a big site. So often those are budget numbers. Same for outdoor kitchens. We offer like 4 different photos. So like there's a $20,000 budget to carry, a 50, a 75, and 100. And that gives the customer a little more control, because we used to run into the situation where we'd carry a $30,000 kitchen budget and they'd want an $80,000 kitchen. And often, that's a $50,000 increase, and it would just create a little bit of abrasion. So we try and eliminate that as much as we can. So I think that's one of the things that's worked well for us. Having that call, really explaining it, also gives us a little more face time, helps us educate them as they have questions. And then usually we'll let them digest for 2 or 3 days after that, and then we'll hit them up again with a call or an email, just to follow up and make sure they're comfortable with everything. And that's worked really well. And I would bet that a lot of people throughout the industry aren't doing that. The other thing is a quick turnaround. We got to make sure we're responding as quick as possible. We need to make sure that we are returning those estimates as quickly as possible. Depending on the project and the design phase, I think it's difficult, but I really believe, especially in the landscaping world, that for guys that are doing 200 to 500,000 a year and that are struggling to compete with guys that have been doing it longer, one of the little things that they can do, if you've got a customer that's called and is already expecting to spend 20 or 30 grand on a project, paver driveway, backyard, little fire pit, whatever, some planting, if it's something that doesn't require a design, and you can get that estimate back to them right away and have your contract, your deposit requirements, all that stuff within hours of the visit, I think your percentage of closing that job is so much higher. We're actually building some content around it right now, because I just feel like when you've already got somebody who wants to spend, likely residential projects in that category, they've been saving to do the work. So they're ready to go. And if you're the person that takes a week or 10 days to get an estimate back, you've probably missed out. And they've likely looked at multiple other ones that are possibly lower, or presented better, or whatever it might be. So I think speed is a bit of a factor. And then I think just all the visualization, what is your welcome email look like? Is there a welcome package? Does it show previous work? Is there testimonials? What's your website look like? What's your Instagram account like? All that kind of visual content really needs to be as good as you can make it, with as much quality and information as you can give.
Yep.
I really, I think those are all keys to it. Being a good listener is probably the biggest one. Trying to let them know how you're going to create value for them. I think as landscapers, we often get a little bit jaded the longer we're in the industry because we just think we're really good at it. Even when we are, I'm more saying you often go to a property and think, oh, you guys should do this. And it's how you deliver that versus what they've just asked for. That is key to how they're going to feel about you, how much they're going to believe in you, and do they like you? Because at the end of the day, people want to do business with people they like. And if you start off too strong and you're not listening, or you forget things that they mentioned to you when you get to your budget, those are all things that often turn the process into a time suck more than a profitable venture.
No, I mean, you couldn't have said it better. It's listening. Active listening is the number one skill if you want to be successful in any business. You
100%.
have to be a great active listener, because if you're going in, listeners, if you're going in with all the plans and solutions for this client, and you knock on the front door and Mrs. Jones takes you to the backyard and you walk around and you tell her exactly what you're going to do, and you think that's sales, you wonder why your closing rate's so low. Mrs. Jones wants to be heard. She wants to be understood. She wants to know that you care enough to ask her good questions and how to then handle those answers to guide her to the best solution. Because ultimately, she wants to make sure you know her problem first and then offer a solution, not go into it saying, oh, I got the solution for it, without ever really understanding or internalizing her problem. That's the secret to high closing rates, is to get to the problem and then, through great questions, answer the question, what is the best solution? But it has to come from the clients. It can't come from you.
Totally agree. And I think, watching your pods from the past year, that is the one thing that everybody says, right? Be a good listener, show them how you're going to create value, and be quick. But be quick. When I say be quick, that's part of it. It's not the most important part of it, but that whole delivery setup and presentation, how you look when you show up, who's with you, how are you taking notes, what do you send them back after the meeting? Is there a confirmation email about what you talked about? Especially for projects without design, I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. They miss 2 or 3 things that were said, send an estimate, and then there's automatic confusion because there's no plan.
Yep.
And it just creates bad experience for customers. And I think the more FaceTime you can have with them and really spend the time educating them, especially if they're a customer that haven't been through a construction project before, or a landscape project before, often customers are much more educated than they used to be. There's a lot of great stuff on TV. There's a lot of great to do, tutorials and YouTube on how to do things. But if they're not studying it, you need to be that person for them and educate them on why what you're suggesting is better and why it should be done that way.
No, I totally agree. And we get so jaded with the idea that we do this every single day. Why don't they know what we know, right? We're so close to the fire. We can feel the heat all the time. And we think our clients are too. We think that they understand what things cost. We think that they understand how things go together, how to build stuff. They think we try to cast our vision of the world, the filter we look through, on them. Right. The problem is they don't have the same filter. They don't have the same awareness that we have to our industry and to what it takes to build stuff. So we have to give them that grace. We have to go in each and every time thinking this client doesn't build outdoor living spaces every day, so we need to educate them. Not think, oh, they already know that. They already know it's going to be $500,000. They already know a pool is X amount. Like we can't go in with those assumptions. We have to go in each and every time thinking, all right, I'm here to educate. And if that education is what they need and I understand the problem and we have solutions that can help solve that problem, then we're a good fit and we move forward. And if not, we educated them. We're good. We added to their experience and off we go somewhere else. But it's knowing up front that it's education, that your clients don't truly know what you know. How could they? They don't do it every day.
They won't.
They don't. Yeah.
And I think as an industry, like you just said, like if that's all that comes of that meeting, it's still been good for the industry.
Yeah.
You've hopefully helped out the next person that's coming along. You've helped them make a better decision. I think, too often people get hung up on competition. And certainly there is competition. And, I completely understand that there's a lot of things that you want to share and not share and based on logistics and proximity to each other, that sort of thing. But it just helps elevate the whole industry when people work that way, go in with that sort of mindset. And often, the guys that are ultra competitive who don't think that way, they're not as successful. And if you look at the industry as a whole, the people that are always improving, always creating a better system, a better sales process, trackable, touch points, like all the things that you can do to be better at it. The more everybody works on that, the more it makes the industry better, the more it's easier to charge more. There's more options to offer people so that if what they want is 80, but they only have 50, come up with a way that you create an opportunity for them to get most of what they want with maybe an avenue to add to it later. I think there's a ton of great ways. And again, not to go on about it, the other thing that sometimes happens is you get a customer who wants the $80,000 job but wants to spend 50. So you got to know who your right profile is as well, and what you're tolerant of and not tolerant of.
100%, man. Preach on. You're definitely on that right track. And at the end of the day, listeners, this is not a competition. It may feel like that when you're out there and there's multiple bids and you got to win, but this isn't win at all costs. This is why I keep saying about serve less people, but go deeper, spend more time with them. Because when you build that relationship, that's what we're doing. We're not just building backyards here. We're building relationships. And when we do,
right,
you'll have a steady flow of referrals like Kevin talks about that keep coming in, because it's not what they get at the end that they care about as much as it is how you made them feel throughout that entire process. That's why we have to slow it down and focus on the relationships, because that's what turns on the referral machine. And that referral machine is 50% sold before they show up.
Absolutely.
Think about it. And it doesn't cost you any more money. No more marketing money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much less work.
And it makes it easier too. Like often as you grow, like you may be moving somebody else into that role, but if they're going to a project where the customer's already had a good experience, or you're a referral from a person that already had a good experience, their closing rates are going to be good as well. And one of the things I wanted to add to part of our process that's been very helpful is we do a final walkthrough with the customer. We make sure they understand what's included in the irrigation maintenance contract, the lighting maintenance, how everything works, where the shutoffs are if there's an emergency. We also do a punch list, so that we have something to hit really quick, because there's always a punch list.
Yep.
And often yours is a little bit different than the customer's. So having that and executing on it as quick as possible frees up that last bit of the contract funds as well. They're happy to pay when they feel like the deficiency list is done. And the other thing we do is when we are done that, we set a 1-year calendar reminder, and then we'll send an email or call that customer and go do another walkthrough a year later. And you're not trying to create more work, but often on our end, we'll end up with things like a few of the plants might have died. The joints jointing material may need to be topped up, whatever it is. We just send a couple of guys back and do that. On a smaller project, I think it's still very worthwhile to go and speak with them and ask them about, how has it been to use the project? Is it as expected? What would you have changed? Often this will create a conversation about something else, or you'll make a suggestion about something that they could do to fulfill what they feel short. But I think the thing it does the most is it just puts you fresh back in their mind with a ton of confidence, so that every dinner party, golf tournament, dog show, whatever their thing is, they're, spewing the word when somebody asks about landscaping.
Yeah.
And the more you can do that with your customers, and I'm not talking about doing it in a like, it can be very organic. But I think that also just creates a lot of value through experience for them, and they're your biggest advocates if you do it well.
Man, I couldn't agree more. And listeners, if you're not writing that down and figuring out how to make that happen for your customers, you're missing a massive opportunity. I mean, Kevin is spot on. Imagine a contractor setting up a time to come back to the site. Most homeowners have a hard time getting contractors to even show up in the beginning to do the work. Now imagine you're coming back on your own free will to walk around and get some honest feedback. Imagine how empowering that is to your customers. Imagine how they're going to take that and be like, this guy didn't just come and build this space. This whole team did just an amazing job. They came back a year later and asked me how I like it after I paid. They get no more money for that, but it opens doors. Kevin's
It's a game changer. Game changer.
Yep. And that, if you want to talk about how you set yourself apart, spending a little extra time with fewer people is how you do it.
Yeah.
I love it. So
I think that's the key.
So Kevin, if you had to pick your top challenge right now in your sales system, or even if you're looking at the horizon for the next year in your sales system, what would that be?
Likely right now, it's just keeping that funnel full. We have a funnel process that we use based on, history. We know that if we want to continue to do 10 plus, we need to visit X amount of work and get that down and, get contracts built. But I think there's just a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. Interest rates are finally dropping in Canada, which has helped. It hasn't changed a lot for our market, but certainly the residential market, the guys that are in landscaping, the residential market are going to definitely see an improvement this year. So I'm excited for them because I think they really, really felt it last year. So yeah, I think that's likely our biggest hurdle right now. The usual ones like hiring has been really good. We haven't had to hire too many this year. Collections has been good. Like the things that are most frequent are a little bit past. And one thing I wanted to mention too, Josh, just about sales in general, I think any of the new businesses or business owners, young entrepreneurs that got started kind of after 2018 until now, they just had this rapid climb and they really didn't have to sell. Like your sales process wasn't important. It's more important than ever now. So anybody who is watching or not building that funnel with touch points and reoccurring areas to reach out to right fit customers and build partnerships and all that sort of stuff, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Yeah.
You're going to get left behind if you don't.
I couldn't say it better. I mean, you just nailed it. And I know a lot of guys listening might be like, yeah, I started in 2020. There was a huge demand for all of our stuff. And, they weren't selling. They were taking orders.
Right.
Right. They were just like, just take my money. Yep. If you could get it done in time, and they built businesses on that. And I'm not here to beat them up. I'm simply here to say the world has changed. And I've 100%. Been doing this since 97. So I've been through a lot of ups and downs in the past.
Right.
And with that being the case, I've realized one clear thing that's always, I actually heard this from Charles Vanderkoy. I don't know if you remember that guy, but Charles Vanderkoy's a consultant back in the day. And he's like, you always run your company lean and mean. I don't care what the economy is doing. If you're just cartloads of cash coming in, that's great. Lean and mean. You've got really tough times, lean and mean. And I've internalized that and said, you know what? We always run it the same way, regardless of how well we're doing. So when COVID came along, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like we're just taking orders. We didn't have to be able to be good at selling, but then you add good selling on it too, change the game. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And then you're like, okay, well, if I incurred tons and tons of overhead because I had money at the time to go buy stuff, when it came down 2022, 23, 24, right in that range, right when it started to drop off, man, I would have been stuck. Right. I'd have been in some big trouble. I'd have been taking just about any work just to pay bills, not even to be able to build the business forward. So I say all of that because if you can run your company lean and mean, no matter what the economy's doing, when times like now comes, if you're seeing that there's not as many leads coming in or whatever, you're not sweating it, man. You've got 6 months of core capital sitting there. You're like, I got plenty of time. Like I'm not really worried about this. I know it'll go. I'm not worried month to month, week to week, paycheck to paycheck, because you actually are running a business, not just supporting your job. right? So there's we can go into some deep ones there, but in general,
Yeah,
in general,
definitely.
yeah,
It's
it's
all
important.
true. It's all true stuff.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on here, Kevin. This has been great. Hope the listeners, hope you got a lot from it. I know I always do every time I talk to Kevin. He's always such an inspiration. He's doing some amazing things up there in Canada. And so, yeah, Kevin, people want to reach out and see what you're up to. How can they do that?
Yeah, thank you, Josh. Kind words. Muskoka Landscapers, send a DM through Insta. The Wealthy Landscaper is in there as well. Can be reached there. But yeah, don't hesitate to DM. Always happy to chat. And yeah, look forward to
Awesome.
learning from everybody.
Absolutely. Kevin, thanks for coming on. And listeners, if you want to learn how to start putting processes in place for your sales so you can start selling at higher rates, you heard Kevin, he's 65, 70%. They have a very different model, right? When it comes to who they serve. Their projects are $500,000 plus, and that's amazing. But we can take little nuggets from what he's doing and we can bring them back down to 30, 50, 100, 200, $500,000 projects. We can do that. Not everything is completely set for those bigger projects. You bring that kind of experience back to your smaller projects. Imagine how you make your clients feel. And when they feel something different, they tend to open their checkbooks just a little further for you.
Easy.
Right? It's easy peasy, nice and simple. So next episode, guys, I'm going to break down, Kevin mentioned this, and I'd love to go deeper into this in an episode. You, instead of just sending out your proposals and praying, right? How many of us do that or have done that, right? Just send your proposal out, keep your fingers crossed and be like, all right, maybe they'll call me back, and then do the follow-up sequence forever until they just change their phone number. I'm going to teach you a couple of options in order to be able to get better results that way. So that's on the next episode. So Kevin, thanks for coming on, and everybody, we'll talk to you next time.